Hi, I'm Chad with Turf Organics, and today I'm going to show you the best way to fill thin and bare areas in your St. Augustine grass. Follow me. Here's an example of the thin and bare areas we're going to be filling in today. These spots here and some along here, you may have bigger areas and smaller areas, and that's okay. This is just the example we have to work with today. Now, the most important step before you start filling in these areas is going to be what is causing these areas. So you're going to want to check for chinch bugs, fungus, sod webworms. If you look on the videos below in our channel, we have videos on all those. So first, the thing is to diagnose what's causing your bare areas to make sure that you don't do all this work and it keeps on dying. Now, for our example here, this bare area is, we know it is drought damaged now. It got too dry and it got damaged because an irrigation head wasn't hitting here. So we have corrected the irrigation head. We have fixed the active issue in this area. That way we know what we're about to do is going to fill in these areas and the damage will not continue to happen. After identifying what caused those issues and making sure that they're still not active, now we can go over the equipment you'll need to complete the job. So the first tool that you're gonna need, this is not a must, but it will help and you'll see in the video, is a hard tooth rake. So make sure the teeth are hard and metal and it's got this big soft top piece on the bottom. Our next tool is a soft tooth rake. I prefer this kind, the plastic. Now they do have the metal, but I think this does a better job. Make sure, see, these are soft and they can bend. So that way it won't rake out any of the live grass and just the dead stuff. Next is probably the two most important things, which is the soil you're gonna use to fill in those bare areas. Best kind of sand we like to use is leveling sand or paver base. Don't use play sand. They have high levels of silica, which is glass, and it'll attract a lot of heat. So leveling sand and builder sand will attract a lot less heat and a lot better to use. The next is the black cow. This is what I recommend over topsoil or anything else. This will have a lot of good nutrients in it and help retain a lot of moisture. A big reason why I recommend this mix is because the black cow will help hold the nutrients and hold moisture, and the sand will help it drain. What I usually recommend is a good 50-50 mix. Now, if you're in a full sun area, you may want to lean more towards the black cow and less sand. If you're in a shadier area, you may want to lean more towards the sand and less the black cow because of moisture issues. Now, all these tools and the soil you're going to need is all something you should be able to get from your local hardware store, which is why I pulled all these things out. Now, the reason I have this bag out is this is a soil called Command. It has microbial turf builder for turf managers. This is the best soil. That mix of this and that is pretty much in this bag, which is why if you can find this Command, which it's not very common in stores, which is why I'm not going to use it today, but if you can find it, this is the best soil you can get. No mixing or anything like that. You can buy it by the bag and lay it down. It's very hard to find, not in bulk, so that's why I'm going to do it with these today, because this is most likely what you're going to be able to find. But this 50-50 mixture is pretty much what this is, because you can put this soil down in areas that are too wet and areas that are too dry, and you can do the same thing with the 50-50 mix on these soils. Now, the first step to filling in these bare areas is raking out the dead grass. So let's grab our soft tooth rake and rake out that dead grass. As you can see now, we finished raking out our spots. Now, you don't have to rake it too hard. I like to rake it out to get some of the dead grass out. As you can see, it's not too big of a pile here, but what it'll also do is it'll loosen up some of these runners, which that's okay as long as we put soil on top. But I highly recommend, do not rake out the dead grass until you can replace it with soil. That way these bare runners aren't exposed to the sun, because what's gonna happen is we're gonna bury these underneath the new soil, and that way they'll be protected and help these areas fill in. But as you can see, there's still some dead grass. It doesn't nearly have to be perfect, but a good light raking will loosen up some of those runners to help promote new growth and get out some of that dead grass. Now, when mixing the soil, there's several ways you can go about it. probably one of the easier ways to get a good mix is to put it in a wheelbarrow, a bucket, or whatever, dump a couple bags in at a time, let's say 2 of black cow, 2 of sand, get a shovel and mix it up and then dump it out in the bare areas. So that's probably one of the easiest ways, but I'm gonna show you how to do it without that way, just in case you don't have access to a wheelbarrow or something you can mix the soil in. There's absolutely ways of doing it without that, and that's the way I'm gonna show you here today. So the way I'm gonna do this is I'm going to dump a bag of black cow down, then a bag of sand, and then kind of mix them up on top of the soil. Now the most important, absolutely most important thing you do is lay the soil thick. So what I recommend is to lay it about 4 inches thick. And you're gonna go, Chad, 4 inches? Yes, 4 inches. I know it sounds insane, but I promise you it's not. What happens is Mother Nature does its thing with rain and the sun and everything like that, and the soil settles. So what happens is you lose about half the soil. So if you're about 2 inches out, you're gonna be left with about 1 inch of soil, which isn't gonna do much. So you lay a good thick 4 inches, you're gonna have anywhere from 2 to 2.5 inches of soil in that area after about 2 weeks, and it gets weathered in. So make sure when you're doing this, more is better. Don't be shy. It's okay to cover some of the St. Augustine at first, and I'll show you. So first, I'm gonna take the black cow and dump this along here in my bare area. And now I'm gonna leave it just like this, and I'm gonna grab the sand and dump the sand on top. Now, next thing you're going to do is grab your hard tooth rake and kind of mix it up and kind of smooth it in. Now remember, I know this looks like a lot of soil, but you'll see as we level it out, but this is the perfect amount for this little area. The trick is when you get bags, get more than you think's needed, because they don't usually go as far as you think, because you need to lay it so thick. But if you don't lay it thick enough, it'll be a big waste of your time. It's best to get the bags, lay it thick, and do it right the first time. Now, while I was doing that, I hope you noticed I used the back side of the hard tooth rake. That's the perfect way. I was pushing it back and forth, mixing it up. It left a beautiful, beautiful sand dirt mix spot, and it's all nice and level. And I know what you're thinking, Chad, this is a little excessive for such a small area. I promise you it's not. St. Augustine sometimes is not very good at being a grass, so we gotta help it out as much as we can. Now, also the trick is too, do not pat it down and make it hard. That'll compact the soil. Leave it loose. Rake it soft. It doesn't have to be perfectly level. Mother Nature will take care of the rest. And even sometimes you have to come back on top after 2 weeks and put down a little more sand or a little more black cow or the mix of two. What I'm gonna do next is do one more time on that other little bare area that we raked out. I'm gonna do a close-up shot on the video so you can see how I work the rake upside down and how I mix the soil and level it out to make it look like this when we're finished. Now that we were all finished, this is what the area looks like after. Now again, don't pack it down, wad it in or anything. If it's time to water your lawn anyways, just run your irrigation on your normal irrigation cycle, but no need to do any extra or anything like that. And as you can see too, the level's not 100% perfect, and it doesn't need to be. Don't break your back trying to make it perfect. Mother Nature will level it out itself. But most people won't have this small of an area. So as you can see, a black cow and a bag of sand get you about this big of an area. So you have this big of a bare area here, then that's a good amount there. And same thing here. This was a total of 2 bags of black cow, 2 bags of sand. Do not mow over these areas till they finally start to fill in. You may want to skip this area depending what time of year you're doing this, which in Florida here, you can do this all year round, so don't worry the time of year. In the winter, it protects the roots from the cold. In the summer, it protects the roots from the heat. Win-win. And you'll see I did bury a lot of grass. Some of it's poking up, and that's okay. Within the next few days, a lot of that grass is gonna poke through, and you're gonna see a lot of runners growing. In about a month, if a lot of the soil is going away, it's not filling in quite as much as you want, repeat this process. Doing this much should usually be okay, but every now and again, then you may need to reapply soil again within a month or so, but more is better than less. If you found this video useful and helpful, if you drop a like and subscribe, it really means a lot and helps our channel out and motivates us to put out more of these videos for you guys. I'm Chad with Turf Organics. This was how to fill in thin and bare areas in St. Augustine grass.